gosh, when I think back, 21 years, this is our 21st year. And I think back of, we were at Clemson for 9 years before this, and Tim had many opportunities, to go elsewhere. But when we came on our visit to Vanderbilt, there was just something about it that, though they hadn't won a lot, we just felt like there was something that could really, it was special because of the education part, and also because it was in the SEC, it was in Nashville, and we decided to take a chance and come to Vanderbilt. And I remember we had our interview, and we were in Fleming's with Todd Turner and his wife. And I said to Todd Turner, don't hire this guy unless you really believe we can win, because he'll die trying. And that was kind of, I guess I knew what he was like. So he said, no, we can't. And so we took the job. And I remember coming to the first practice and looking out there, and we had come from Clemson. And I just thought, oh boy, oh, what have we done? I mean, just the talent at that time wasn't quite, what we're used to. Good guys, but, and then, obviously the story of the first game when I thought I'd gotten the time wrong, but it was actually the correct time, and no one was really in there in the stadium. So there was some shock at first, and some, for me, maybe, what did we do? What did we leave? What did we do? But as time went on, and those first few years were kind of difficult, but they were also kind of fun, just the building process and watching how it was going. And then we got players like you in there, and David Price, and it just kind of built. And at that time, though, I wasn't around quite as much because I was raising Hannah. We had Hannah with us, and she was a top level tennis player. So, I was on the road with her quite a bit too. So I wasn't with the team quite as much as I am right now. But I mean, that, I don't know why I just went everywhere on that one, but that's how we began.
Right. Right. Well, it's I've told this story many, many times to a lot of people, and I'll never forget the my redshirt freshman year. Coach Corbin was working with me in the cage, and he, during that time, I'm like, why is he working with me? Why is he taking time out of his busy schedule to run a really good program with a bunch of first rounders on the team? Why is he putting his time and effort into a guy who's not even going to play this year? And I in that moment, I felt just incredibly special. I didn't even, I knew him as my coach. That's all I knew him as. But it was always, he always made me feel valued, no matter how I was doing on or off the field. But the reason I say that is you have to start somewhere, and you have to put all your energy into other people. And no matter who it is, and you put your energy into to Molly and Hannah. You put your energy into helping Vanderbilt baseball. You certainly don't have to. You certainly don't have to show up to the games. You certainly don't have to make cookies for guys in their birthday. You certainly don't have to have dinner with a kid who misses his parents who are halfway across the country. You don't have to do those things. But you being, quote unquote, a good teammate to the program, are fully invested emotionally, physically, everything. It's you're present, and I think people kind of look at a program like Vanderbilt and it's like, well, they recruit a bunch of good kids and they kind of make a line up and they go play baseball. And that's really all it is. It's so much more than just a baseball program. There's a lot of, selflessness. There's a lot of investment, time and energy. And you've gotten to experience that. And I think you're an integral part of the success of that place because of your time and energy and selflessness that you spend.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, family is thrown around a lot in a lot of different organizations, but we really see our program as a family with a mom and a dad, at the top of it. And when we recruit these kids, whether it's you from right down the street, or whether it's a kid from Puerto Rico or a kid from Maine or California, we look at these parents in the eye and we say, we're going to take care of your child. And like, I don't take that lightly. When I say that, like, I mean that. And we have kids, it's a melting pot. Our program is a melting pot, and that's on purpose. And we like it that way. But that also means that parents, aren't around all the time. And I do think having a mom around makes other mothers or grandmothers or whoever they're raised by feel better giving their child off. And I want them to feel better about that. I want them to feel comfortable that not only are there really great men attached to the program, but there are women that are overlooking, overseeing, and watching and paying attention. And then, beside, I guess, in addition to that, because I started feeling that way and really trying to take more of an active role, and Tim encourages that, you just fall in love with these kids. And I just feel like I'm maybe one of the luckiest people on earth, because I get to share the lives of these young men that are really unique and special, and not only share their lives for 3, 4, 5 years, but then for 10 years and for 20 years, and go to their weddings and watch them have children. And now we have this huge expanded family that I just really feel blessed to be a part of, honestly.
Right. And it's certainly something special. And I think, from a coaching perspective, if you can have a lot of people invested in you and believing in you, as a player, it takes their ability, in terms of production on the field. It takes their ability from here, and it just raises it, because as a player that you have people that are going to support you. That you have people that are going to depend on you, but also have your back if something doesn't go perfectly, because it's never been perfect, and life isn't perfect, and life is unpredictable. So, from a player standpoint, to have that in the back of your mind, saying if everything kind of goes haywire, I've got this emotional support, this safety net. And I don't think a lot of players have that sometimes, whether they come from a different.
I call it a soft place to land, a soft place to fall.
Sure.
I feel like I just am maybe that voice that maybe is a little softer, a little kinder, a little more knowing. It's eyes that see things from a mother's perspective. Like, sure. I tell people all the time, I go to practice every day and don't miss one. And I tell people I like practice way better than the games. First of all, there's not that little pressure,
right?
But I see things in a different way. You can, if you watch, you can really see, maybe who's struggling, maybe who's homesick, maybe who's out of whack, who's connecting with who, what's it look like? you
Yeah.
know, and then maybe I'll say to Tim, hey, you know, maybe we need to check on Brian. How's he doing? You know,
Right.
he looked off, you know, just, I mean, there's so many ways that, you know, you can help a kid. I mean, just like all the surgeries I've been to because the parents can't get there in time. I mean, that means that's a big deal. Like if my child was at a university and she had to have emergency surgery, I mean, it's fine if her coach shows up, but I want a mom, you know, I want a mom there, you know, to oversee that deal. And they're just different things, you know, that I don't know. It's just a pleasure for me to be
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah. Well, I know certainly everybody who's ever been a part of that program and appreciates it a great deal. You know, and I think, from the accolades that the program has accomplished and all those different types of things, you know, and I'm not going to go into, specific years or anything like that. But when things aren't clicking, when the team just ain't winning, basically, and you may have some issues that you have to deal with. Maybe someone's not doing very well in school, or not doing the right things on the baseball field, or whatever it may be. How do you as someone who is so invested, how do you get through those times, and how do you work together, from a you know a relationship standpoint,
Yeah.
and to try to get through those things?
Well, I mean, I think just like really like parents do. I mean, I feel like Tim and I every night, you know, we go out to dinner every night, 365 nights a year, as everyone knows. And you know, uh, those dinners are spent talking about typically either our girls or the boys.
Right.
And when you have two girls and 35 boys, something's happening. You know, something's going on with somebody.
Hmm.
So it's you're right. There's issues or there's this or there's that. And you know, we spend a lot of time talking about it. And when things aren't going well, just like with parents that, you know, worry and cry and um you know, yeah, difficult. We feel it, you know, and we live it. And it's not always rosy. And you're right. I mean, we've had some success, but we've also had failure. We've had death. We've had, you know, different crises and devastation. And I mean, it does take a toll, obviously, emotionally, for sure. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. You
Right.
know, it's an emotional journey always. But on the flip side, I mean, just like parenting, it's an emotional journey, but you stay in there because you believe in what you're doing and you believe in the people you're around, and there is enough joy to keep you going. Um, but that's where also, you know, Tim and I, you know, we have a good relationship and we count on each other and we hang in there together. And then, you know, I can't also forget about the staff we have because it's not just Tim and I, you know, handling 35 boys. We've got amazing assistant coaches that provide support. I mean, Bax was a player, and so he is very much, you know, like a son. And Brownie's been around forever and such a good friend of Tim and, you know, their wives. And so it's not like we're totally alone doing this. I mean, we can come together and meet as adults and talk through things. So I mean, that's our support system is our staff. And those are our best friends. And that's the only people we do things with. It's really the only people you can be yourself with and
Right.
share things with, be, you
Right.
know, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that, the the people within the program, you know, you mentioned the word family, and it's not just cliche, it's an actual family. But you know, the importance, and I try to get across to our younger players, just the importance of being authentic and the importance of being yourself, and you know, not trying to be somebody else, and having the ability within an organization to express what's going on, without fear of judgment, without fear of like, I'm going to be seen as soft or you know, less than or whatever. You know, I think there's an emotional component to having an organization, a team, whatever it is, where I think you know, there have to be standards to work towards, but there's also got to be kind of a release valve. You know, you know, you create relationships with, you know, friends on the team. You know, you develop relationships with, you know, different parents of different kids, from, you know, coaches kids, all that kind of stuff. And you know, the importance of being authentic and being yourself, instead of trying to impress, instead of trying to look tough, to put up a front. And I think what I'm trying to get to is, I think we're talking about taking your level of play from here to here, having that ability to be yourself and be authentic and be transparent with people just takes you from here to here all the time. But if you're trying to impress, you're trying to do too much, you're just going to stay right here. But having those right people and that support system where you can be authentic around, is so important. And I definitely see that, from every part of that place.
Well, it's very intentional. I mean, when the new kids get there, you know, as freshmen, I mean, even their seating arrangement in the classroom is intentional. And it's about putting them in the center and putting the older kids on the outside, to protect them. There's no hazing. There's no being mean to young kids. There's no giving young kids the worst jobs. Our older kids are there to protect, and we've tried to make that a standard, and that's a standard in our program, that those older kids are there to protect and teach the younger ones. And once those younger ones realize that they have that, those older kids are for them, then they can start to relax and be part of it. And I will say, what Tim does in the fall, in our classroom, which meets every single day for like 30 minutes before we go out on the field, is nothing about baseball. And that is September, October, November. There's very little about baseball, but there's everything about humanity and human traits and human values and being authentic and being vulnerable, and topics that no one wants to discuss except Tim Corbin. Everything's out on the table. There's no secrets. There's nothing left unturned. So it's a place where people can really be themselves, really express themselves. Like I said, no topic is off the table. And when we never finish learning and teaching, but as that progresses, you can just see the makings of a team, the makings of a family, the comfort of a team. And we've often said, when you make better humans, you make better teams. And when better teams have better humans, they have better outcomes and better results. And so, are we doing it just to help young men? Yes, but that in turn typically helps with the results. Better humans, better teams, better results. And we just feel like when a kid comes to Vanderbilt, it can't just be about the scoreboard. It has to be about learning and growing and being a better human. That's what, drives Tim and I.
Yeah. And I think the the authenticity piece and the sincerity piece is implemented into everything. It's never, I'm going to go, you'll say, I'm a coach, not I'm going to go do this because it looks good for the cameras. I'm going to do this because so that people can have an opinion about me that is favorable to me or whatever. There's a level of sincerity of I'm sincerely trying to help this young man get better at baseball and help him with his life. And just that act alone and that sincerity of actually doing that is, you can tell him something nothing to do with baseball, something totally strange, but the sincerity is the power, the authenticity is the power. And I think kids so many times, especially in high school, as a bunch of distractions start coming up, and with the social media and all that kind of stuff, all you see is highlights, all you see is the good stuff, all you see is the the rankings and all those different types of things. But there's so many things, like we mentioned, so many small acts of sincerity, authenticity, and kindness that propel kids forward. And you take that and you put them into some incredibly talented kids, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of talented kids out there physically, a lot. But what we look for, I mean, we have the ability now to kind of, I'm not saying choose who we want, but look for what we want and then invite them into our program. And a lot of it has nothing to do with their baseball skill. I mean, obviously they're skilled,
Sure.
but we want to see, what does their coach say about them? What does their teammates say about them? What are the parents like? I can't tell you how many Zoom calls Tim and I do with the family,
Right.
Not just the kid, the family. We want to see what is that like? What are the fibers of the kid? And that's what we look for, and so diverse. You look around our team, it's Black, it's white, it's Latin, it's rich, it's poor, it's country. It doesn't matter. But does that kid bring an energy, a joy, a spark, a competitiveness, a kindness, an empathy? What are those? And I'm not saying he has to be perfect or all those have to be fully developed, but there's got to be something there that draws us to that young man. And then once he gets in here, a lot of times you'll see they just blossom and grow, and it's really neat to see. It's really fun to see these kids grow up, just like you and your brother.
Sure.
I mean, so fun.
Yeah. And we want you guys to be a part of as many things as you can in our lives, and we're not the only ones. Like, the weddings, the babies and all that kind of stuff. And that's what's so important about just having those relationships. And that's what really life is about, is
It's about that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, when all is said and done, you guys, I know this about you because I was an athlete myself. You don't remember the scores of the games.
No.
You remember the bus ride. You remember goofing around at the hotel. You remember all those, whitewater rafting, whatever we did. You remember those things. You don't really remember the games so much.
Yeah.
And those relationships that built. And I mean, I was buying baby gifts at a rapid rate a couple years ago at a certain store in Nashville. And finally, the owner said, Miss Corbin, how many grandchildren do you have? I mean, you're here all the time. And I was like, at that time, I had none. I said none, but a lot. It's hard to explain, and I mean, now they know. And that's my joy. That's like my joy to see all these little tiny Vandy people that are growing, and then to watch you and guys like you become parents and coach their little league team. And it's just that is what life is about. It's not the wins and losses. It's about, the relationships,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Well, you guys certainly do an outstanding job of that. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. But you guys got a big series this weekend. Well, all the series are big, but
I
you know what I,
know.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I just wanted to say again how much I appreciate you. I love you and Coach Corbin. I really, really sincerely do. I know our family does. I know everybody does. And that's something because you guys give so much, and we just appreciate everything that you guys do. And we're so happy that you guys are doing well, and we just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we love you guys. And I am so proud of what you're doing for young people. And it really is just passing it down, because
Right.
now you're affecting young people's lives, and they can come to you and they look up to you, and that's a good feeling for us. We're
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thank you.
Really proud.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, go get them today.
Thank you.
You got it. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.
Well, 1 second.